Alright guys, I'm Chris.
And I'm Adam.
And welcome to the Gamers Hall.
Yeah.
And in this video, we're going to be talking about feats. Not a specific feat in general, but just generally about feats.
Yeah. Feats in the game, how they feel, how they interact. Just a general understanding. You can see where we come about, how we feel about them in the game themselves. And also stay till the end of the thing so you can hear that hard question about this as well.
Yeah. A question that every DM should ask themselves before running a game.
Right. So, feats have been in the game for a long time. I'm pretty sure they were in the form of first edition. Definitely in second, they start cropping up. Third edition, they're all over the place in third edition. Fourth edition, they are also a part of it. To an extent. Fifth edition, they're definitely here too. They have prerequisites on some of them, so you can't just pick up a feat willy-nilly. A lot of times, you have to have something that meets the criteria of.
Yes.
And all feats give you something. Sometimes stat points, sometimes abilities.
Sometimes both.
Yeah, a lot of times both, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're giving you both.
So let's go ahead and jump into the good about feats.
Yep.
But before that, if you like the content we're putting out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you know when
little bell.
Our next videos are going to come out.
Yep.
All right, so getting into the good about feats. Feats are going to give you extra abilities that you didn't otherwise have before.
Yeah, this is great. Extra abilities. It gives you another option to do something, or it makes something you do better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and like this is going to vary depending on what you pick. I mean, you might get an ability stat increase, which is always good. But if you picked up the chef feat, now your character has something extra to go off of, and cooking and roleplay opportunities. If you pick
keen mind, now you can remember things you normally wouldn't remember, creating a whole set of opportunities for roleplay and other things. Just being able to go, yeah, I know that. I remember that.
Yeah. Like, I might not remember it, but my character definitely remembers it.
The grappler feat, in some cases, not the greatest of feats, but it does do something cool.
Yeah.
I hit somebody on arm strike, I got you.
Yeah.
You're mine.
And then sometimes if you have a character design that you want to get, like, for instance, the John Wick build, you can't get that without feats.
Right.
You have to have feats in order to do that.
Yeah. Or, certain aspects that you're trying to go for, that character that holds the line that's supposed to be there. I mean, the Sentinel feat really builds into that. I'm going to hold this place. I'm going to be, the Spartans. I'm going to make sure nobody gets past Thermopylae. This is my ground I stand on. The feats help you get there.
Or maybe you pick up the Elemental Adept because you want to be that flame mage, but you really hate the fact that majority of monsters with resistances have flame resistance. Well, now they're not resistant to your flames.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than a whole bunch of devils going, ha ha ha, that's fun. Oh crap, you burned. No, that's bad.
Yeah, why are your flames black?
Yeah, this is not okay. They do extra abilities. That's great. That's just awesome.
And then, one of the other things that's great about some feats is now that Tasha's Cauldron to Everything is out, you can actually pick up some class features without having to multi-class.
Yeah, now you don't have to take that one level dip in something to get maybe ability you're picking, or 2 level dips in some cases. You can just take that feat and you can get that feel that you want.
Yes.
You can get that little extra bit that was missing from your character class that you wish could have been in there. And, just because you hit 4th level, it's like, okay, cool, now I can pick that up and my character concept will flow a little bit better.
Yeah, you can have that barbarian now, and you can use the feat to pick up great weapon fighting without having to pick up a level of fighter.
Yeah. And, things that typically would have made sense to be in your class, but because of the way they wanted to balance the game out,
right.
they couldn't. Now you can just get them, as a feat.
Or if you want to just make your class better, now you can be the sorcerer and get extra sorcerer points with an extra meta magic option.
That's right. Just increasing plus some. just a little bit better what you normally would do, especially with the Artificer, because the Artificer one is fantastic for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other good thing is that these are extra ways to really flavor up the character.
Yes.
To get them to do what you've been wanting them to do.
Yeah, they really help a concept. It is like in multiclassing helping concept. Feats are in the same vein of they really help with the concept of a character. Yeah. Something you normally wouldn't be able to do, but because these things exist, you can get there. I can become, Captain America because some of these feats. I can become maybe Asta from Black Clover because I can pick up a couple of these feats.
Yeah. Or, maybe you're that guy in One Piece who's like a crazy martial arts expert, but you pick up the chef feat because his whole deal was he wanted to travel the world and find new fish and new animals to cook and make different recipes. Yeah. And like, bam, now you pick up this one feat and it makes this helps you get that little bit more to the character you're trying to portray.
Whole flavor and even possibly a campaign idea out of it because of a feat. Of a feat, you just go, now we have a direction we can go. Or we have a side quest we can go because I've picked this up. Picking up Lucky could just give a more sense of a character of like funny moments you can add because you're about to get run over by a cart, but somehow because you're lucky, somebody hits you in the back of the head or a rock pops up, hits you, and you're like, I didn't get run over. A way for a DM to go, well, this feat, you have this feat, so now I can explain why some things. Or like the shadow touched. Well, your shadow seems to move outside of you. Different ways of giving flavor to your character just because you picked up a feat.
Yeah. Or it also gives the DM options to maybe give the NPCs or creatures that little bit extra they need to stay on par with what the player characters are.
Yeah. An ogre that has languages. Pick up the linguist feat. Like, you can explain it. Like, now they're actually going to talk to this person. Or a war mage. A mage slayer. Like some...
Oh, my goodness.
You're going to cast a spell on my face? Nope. I'm going to hit you because you did that. Like, well, and then the players go, what the crap happens? Like, well, you can see there's iconography that he hates mages. And he has something to reflect that.
Yeah, he's got a tattoo on his face that's part of like the mage slaying guild that he's a part of.
I mean, the feats give you that little bit of extra.
And imagine the look on your players' faces when they're fighting an orc chieftain who has sentinel, and it's like, oh no, you mean my wizard can't get away from the orc chieftain? No, this isn't good, guys.
Yeah, or it has great weapon master, and all of a sudden you see that guy just say, yeah. He just swings for the fences on your face, and because you're prone, it looks like it's going to hurt. And then all of a sudden, he did how much damage? Well, that's remember, DMs, anything a player can do, a monster can do too.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, but that's with the good. So let's go to the bad. What are the bads about feats? Obviously, number one is going to be power creep.
Yeah. Everybody's dealt with it. Everybody knows. Sharpshooter, crossbow expert, polearm master, sentinel. A few of these feats add a little extra oomph when they shouldn't add that much.
Yeah, because I mean, a 5th level barbarian with great weapon master can suddenly put out 30 plus damage.
Yeah, God forbid if they crit.
That's before dice are rolled.
Yeah.
So it's whoo.
God forbid they crit or do anything else like that. I mean, it would be hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And there's several classes that can really take advantage of some of these feats and amp them up way more than they normally should, which is kind of the intention of some of them to do this.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, when you have people that are actively looking for an edge, these feats will create that edge and that power creep that a DM has to now deal with.
Yeah.
I have a perfect example of a dragon that I was sending to fly at somebody, and because of a few good feats and a long-range fighter, they dropped the dragon before he ever got to do anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was it? No, it was a ranger, wasn't it?
It was a ranger. He was a ranger and fighter. Ranger fighter, and then he had the crossbow expert, sharpshooter feat, that whole package of stuff.
What level? It's like
seven at the time.
So a 7th level took out what type of dragon?
Adult green.
Adult green before it ever got to him.
Yeah.
By himself, solo.
Well, almost solo. He did 80% of the life.
Wow.
80%. And 3 turns. Dragon was flying to him. He just shot from far away. Didn't matter. Not getting a disadvantage of what he had built up, and it's mostly because of the feats.
Yeah. And like that's the power group we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's tough for a DM to deal with.
Oh, super tough.
Yeah,
super tough. But let's get into the next bad thing about feats, which is some of the feats just aren't that good.
Oh yeah,
or they don't give you enough.
Yeah, this is mostly for earlier feats in the edition than the later feats. Tasha's has given us a lot of really robust feats that do multiple things.
Yeah.
But earlier, there's just some feats why? Like lightly armored. Would you know anybody who's ever going to pick up that feat? Do you even know what that feat does?
No.
Okay, I'll read it for you. Increase your strength or dexterity score by 1, and you gain proficiency with light armor.
That's it?
That's it. That's what it does. That's that feat.
Yeah, that's not that great. I'd rather take a 1 level dip into something else.
It could be easily hey, lightly armored, you gain this proficiency and you move an extra 5 feet. Or
now see that would actually make it.
There could be lots of things, but this is what it was. Some of these feats just don't do enough. You're never going to pick them up. You're never going to use them. In some rare cases they might matter, but most of the time you can do the same thing by picking up another level in a class, picking up a magic item, which is a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
In most campaigns, or just generally ignoring it because it's whatever it's giving you is not enough that it matters.
Yeah, and the chef feat could also be one of those because I know we like it, but there's a lot of people who would look at that and just look at it and go, "Oh, this is all it does." The
temporary hit points.
The short rest, the temporary hit points. I get this +1 to con. Oh no, that's just, why would I take that feat?
Yeah, which leads to a lot of people taking the same things.
Yes,
that's why we have the problem we have. Is that some of the feats sucked, some of the other feats are good, okay, and then you have the great ones that everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing the same build over and over and over again. We're gonna keep seeing the same 4 or 5 feats repeatedly.
Yeah, because I know we don't honestly feel like it's bad, the Polearm Master Sentinel build, but the past 4 campaigns I've ran, I've literally had somebody who made that build, which it's not really a problem, but it's okay, this character again, even though someone else is playing it, they typically tend to play it the exact same way.
Right. Leads to repetition.
Yeah. Which, gets stale.
Right.
Let's talk about the role play about feats. Are people going to describe how they got these feats? Are they just going to show up? Is this gonna, are you gonna flavor how you use these feats? Like with Sentinel, are you jacking somebody, behind the knee? Are you, cutting their calf?
You're sticking your staff in between their legs so they can't go somewhere, or just, holding it out.
Yeah,
or in cases maybe you use a savage attacker, or are you yelling every time you do that? Can you just tell that they're swinging with reckless abandon?
Yeah, are you using that crusher feat so you're hitting somebody, you're rocking them towards the direction you're pushing them?
Yeah, you're aiming for the head every time, or the piercer feat, you're always aiming for right in the chinks of the armor. Are you describing it? There's lots of ways to role play these feats, and use them on a regular basis. Even with a keen mind is a perfect one to role play. It's just hold on a second, let me think about it. Yes, I remember. It's the 3rd layer of the dungeon. We got to go through this way, go that way, this way, that way, and you can explain it out. and create those moments of like, even the DM's going, yeah, I'm going to run with that.
Yeah, see, I feel like a lot of time we always come back to the role playing of something, and it's role playing these feats or role playing other things is just gonna make them more memorable and more useful to the party, to you as the player, and even for the dungeon master, because this is also helping whoever the dungeon master is. And it's also, if you role play the feats, you tend to remember their abilities more, and you don't have to have a sheet of paper sitting there telling you what this ability does.
Also does one other thing. It makes them more acceptable.
Yes.
Because the more you role play it, and the more that other characters get into the fact that you're doing this on a regular basis, and they're getting engrossed with like however every time you explain this, especially like the Sentinel polearm thing, like every time he uses his ability, he says, yeah, I'm going to use my reaction to stick it. I'm going to hook it behind his arm and shove him back to where he doesn't move out of my position, or different abilities like that. A lot of people will just start glossing over how good it could be, by the fact that you just role play this action that it's causing, this effect. This every time that the DM asks, "Do you remember?" and the keen mind goes, "Well, I do remember." And role plays out how they're remembering whatever information they may not even remember.
Yeah.
that and the DM goes, okay, fair enough, and then you go with it because it makes it more fun for everyone.
Yeah, but also like it kind of stales it down when it's like, oh, I got Sentinel. It's like I hit him, he stopped. It's like, you don't want to describe how he stopped? No, man, he stopped. Like, let's go on.
Or I'm going to sharpshoot, and I'm going to, things right here, so I don't have to worry about whether I hit it. I roll. I don't have disadvantage. I shoot, and it takes 42 damage. I'm going to do that again. Negatives. Like, dude, come on. Talk about how you're aiming at its throat, or talk about the fact that you create just enough space that you can fire this off, or the fact that your hand crossbow you're reloading, or you have a bandolier and you're hitting it on the top or something. Explain why these abilities are occurring. Don't just say it does it.
Yeah, like this is how you flavor up the session
and flavor up combat as well. Like, these feats are great ways to roleplay in combat. A lot of roleplay gets missed in combat. This is such an opportunity to make these appear on a regular basis, because you could be a dual wielder with a feat, and you can talk about how defensive you are with your dual swords. Of like, because I move them around like a net of steel, people can't get in and hit me. Or when they do hit me, it's like, you got past my impenetrable wall of blades, something like that.
Yeah, or if you're that elemental adept, like why does your ice or your frost damage, why does that hurt people who naturally have resistance to it? Like what's different about your ice spells? Like, are they that much colder? Are they that much sharper? Are they like a harder type of ice or something? Like, how are you going to describe that?
Or sometimes even the after effects, like the same vein. It could be acid. Yeah, when you shoot out this ball of acid, when it hits, it keeps melting in the ground and it's not stopping. It's eventually going to stop, but there's pock marks in the ground from where your acid hit, which normally would just sizzle away. But no, this is so virulent and strong that it's burning holes in everything it touches. This is great opportunities with these feats.
Yeah, or even if you had the poisoner's feat, like, what is different about your poison that burns through this resistance? Like did you marinate poisons between two different animals to create something? Like, what is it? Or
even maybe flavoring your character, like Fey touched. Like, now you've taken on, since this has happened to you, maybe you got hit in the head a little bit and you became Fey touched. Now you're more aloof and your character acts funnier. Every time he's around people, but then he comes around certain Fey type entities and it starts to act more normal. There could be ways that the feat themselves affect the character, and like we talked about with the chef feat, your whole campaign can be built on somebody having the chef feat. It's not the best feat in the game, but it's one that gives a reason to go murder hobo everything you see.
It's so true.
It's like, I have the chef feat. I want to eat it. I want to eat it all.
I don't care if that owlbear's trying to protect its cubs. I'm making owlbear steak tonight.
That's right. I'm going to make a souffle out of this brain dog. You know? There's so much value to a small aspect of the game, and effectively a variant rule that most people don't play with, right?
Right, and that leads us to the next part. Let's get into the hard question. Do you allow or do you not allow feats in your D&D games?
This is a tough question that probably not a lot of people think about, because most groups already have it in their mind exactly how this is going to go.
Yeah, because, right? I mean, like we said, it is a variant option.
Yeah, every time they start up a campaign, it's accepted. It's feat or no feat. They don't think about it. They don't ask why.
Mm-hmm.
I will give my answer first, and I believe feats should be allowed. I find feats to be enhancers. They're like the salt and pepper for D&D, if we're going to use some food terms, since we talk about chefs so much. They don't, in my opinion, don't inherently break the game and make it too overpowered. They just add more that a character can do. And they're typically pretty restrained. Every 4 levels you pick up a feat. If you play the variant human, you can get it at first level. Or if you're a fighter, you can pick up more feats in that. And then there's some other rare cases that a couple will get extra feats here and there, but I don't remember exactly what it is. But it's higher level, so it doesn't really count as much. Or they pick up something like a feat.
Yeah, and let's see. My answer is I typically allow feats, but I could totally understand why somebody would say no feats. If, you know, you have those particular power gamers who keep making the same build and keep going for this high damage output, character builds. It's like, okay, well, maybe we start a session and we say, listen, guys, no feats this time. Let's see what they make. Let's see what they create. Because, the power creep is there.
It is there.
And, it can be there. But if you just say, hey, no feats, let's see what the players do.
Right.
Because, I'm just typically interested to see what they would make or what they would do or how people play. Because, I've played some games where I've done some variant options in combat, and the players played very differently.
Oh, yeah, the one with the severe damage variant option. That made things really difficult when we did that. That is not a very fun variant feat, but it does force you to think tactically.
Oh, I did one where anytime someone dropped to 0 hit points, they got a level of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe the amount of change combat was when they're like, listen, the fighter and the paladin can't go down. Like, we need to keep them up.
Yeah.
This isn't you get knocked down, okay, I'll healing word you get back up, and bop, bop, you get knocked down again, we'll just do the same thing. It's no. And another one was if you failed a death saving throw, they stayed until you did a long rest. That changes the game. So feats are the same way.
Feats are the same way, and the reverse is for those play groups that have never really allowed them. You should probably give them a try.
Definitely.
Let your players play it, because there are options that it's not really gonna happen until you allow a feat. If you're trying to get a Drist character, you play a ranger, which is. Now it's really up for debate whether he's a ranger or not.
Right.
But he really needs the dual wield feat to feel more like the dual wielder feat, because he's very defensive. He's very protective with his scimitars, and there's a lot of stuff that goes with that. But a character's concept won't really start happening, won't get past that generic level without picking up some feats sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially. It might allow some characters that normally wouldn't do something to now try it. because they just, well, maybe I will take Fey Touched. Maybe I will try to be a little weird.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's allowing them grants more opportunities. Not allowing them, depending on your players, can create more opportunities or, fewer opportunities. But I mean, I could see a DM who's allowed feats a lot just getting really stale of seeing the same feats being used and saying, hey, I'm not allowing feats this time because I want to see what everyone else does when there's not feats.
Right. And, that's how we feel about it. Now, here's something that's not a hard thing to do is hit that like button and subscribe.
Yeah. And keep rolling them nat 27s and see what happens in your next game.
That doesn't happen.
It could.
I mean, D100s. But that's it.